Hello again. Probably remember me from the video I did about this sword right here. Well, today I'm going to show you the next thing that I've done. This is the Onigiri Shadow. Yes, I still have it. Gratuitous blade shot here. This is a keeper, and it has a good spot in my collection. Okay, that out of the way. Today I'm going to talk to you about my cure for the Marto dilemma. Everybody has or knows about, if you're watching this sword right here. This is the Marto Sword of the Dragon. It's what they used for the Highlander series from the 2nd through the 6th season. It was bought in bulk by Davis Panzer Productions, and ProCut would actually split the hilt and put aluminum blades in them. And the hero props are usually these. You'll notice that this one doesn't have a Hamon in it or a temper line. Two reasons for that. First of all, I wanted the blade to look like the blade in the first movie, which did not have one, and I decided to sand it out. I did this with a Squadron sanding stick. But the second reason for that is because the saya, or what passes for a saya with these, that elliptically shaped aluminum tube that comes with these swords, scratched the blade so badly that to fix it I had to sand everything out of it. That's also why it's not in the saya right now, and neither is this one. I'll get to that in a sec. This, of course, is the 2nd to the 6th version, season version. This is, of course, the Sal Tequila Musashi. This one, a version similar to this was used in the first season. Sal made, I believe he told me, 30 of them, and they destroyed every single one of them. Sometime during the 2nd season, they went to Marto with the very similar but less expensive handle hilt, and they stopped using these. Quick background: Sal made these for a lot of years. There are differences between them and the first season. In my last video, I didn't allude to that, and I should have done a little bit more research. They aren't exactly the same as the ones in the series. I'll get to how you can get one of those in a minute too. Okay, that's the Marto, and this is what we're going to talk about today. This is, I guess you'd say, my solution to the Marto dilemma. It feels really good in my hand. It feels better than the black one, actually. And I've done a lot of kata with it and Triform's practice and the Marto. And it's heavy, and I keep hearing and reading that it's brittle. And I had it for a lot of years, and it's kind of a part of me in a way, but I didn't want to break it. They don't make them anymore. And I did go through this thing from one end to the other. I got it as a throwaway, basically, a $50 beater from a pawn shop. And I just went through it and recarved all of it and polished everything and put the saya in a corner far enough away that I'd never be tempted to actually put the sword in it again. So I'd been looking for something. I built the shadow, the Onigiri Shadow, for practice. But I did want one of these. I wanted something like the Marto, but something I could actually use. And enter Daryl Kyle, proprietor of Texas Steel Props and Replicas. He's down in San Antonio. He has actually merged with, or Point Gallery has merged with him, the Sal Tequila Musashi. He and Sal work together now. I believe he's going to be going back to making the same one that Sal did. Sal moved down to San Antonio from the Pacific Northwest, and they work together now. Daryl is known for a few other things. He makes a few really nice versions of the Connor sword, and he makes them the way that Sal made his, which is with Kevlar and carbon fiber. And I believe that Kyle actually uses tooling resin additionally to those two things. He made a bunch of those. They're on his website, Texas Steel Props and Replicas. Good guy. This guy's not a craftsman, he's an artist. I mean, he makes things, but they're not crafted. They're more of a they have an elegance to them that mass-produced stuff doesn't. Okay, he made a bunch of those, but he didn't make any of these that I knew about for a while. But then someone sent him a Marto with I believe the nose was broken off and smashed at the same time, so you couldn't really rebuild it. So what he did was he cast a Sword of the Dragon Marto that he had and made a hilt out of it for this individual, and it looked exactly like the Marto, but of course this is Kevlar, carbon fiber, tooling resin. This is the one thing you always want out of this one, but you know, these are very expensive. I didn't get this one for quite as much as they normally cost because there's a little bit of damage to the blade, but I mean inside the size, so what, really? I saw the thing that he did with the other one, and I started thinking, you know, here's my chance. Everybody who's watching this probably has wanted an aluminum bladed Sword of the Dragon. This is going to be a quick as I can, tutorial on how to make one of your own. All the caveats that are in the other video about the Oniyuri shadow, about liability, all the other illities, anything that could possibly be construed as being an endorsement by me for making something like this, you're on your own. I accept no responsibility of any kind in any way, shape, or form for whatever results you may get should you attempt this. Like I said in the other video, I'm sorry to say it, you have to keep saying this, but you know why. Okay, I contacted Daryl last December and I told him that I was looking for something like this. You know, could you make one of those for me? Could you cast me a Sword of the Dragon hilt? And he said, sure. So prices are reasonable, service was excellent. I really like this guy. A little while later, this thing came in the mail. It was just this, up to here, no hardware or anything. And I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. The thing was just perfect. I mean, it's the holy grail because I'd already found the rest of the sword. All I needed was this to put it together. So, like I said, Kevlar, carbon fiber, tooling resin. There's a rectangular hole all the way down through the inside of this from one end to the other, and I believe that's because the Marto actually has a metal sleeve inside it, and the blade sits down inside that. If you ever have the Highlander Best of the Best, there's a disc in there that shows how they make these, and it actually shows them assembling a Marto, and it's got a steel sleeve in it. So that's how this came. How I put it together was, it was one of those things where, you know, I didn't do anything like I did the Shadow. This was totally different because I wanted this thing to be dismountable. I mean, if I didn't like anything about it, I could take it apart or whatever. What I did with it was, first thing I did was I got the tang ready. Now, the sword that I got the tang off of is a Handmade Swords. It's a company. They're on the internet. Number 634. It's this one right here. It's the same. It has aluminum blade. Has a fake Hammond on it, but they're very nice. I mean, you know, anybody ever does EI, you probably, if you do it for a little while, you know the sword starts getting heavy, and they actually, you know, that the serious practitioners usually have some sort of aluminum tool to do this with. That's what that is. So I bought one of those, and then I liked it. I really liked it, and then I thought, well, you know, I bought one for my wife. So I had two of them, and I told her, I said, the tightest, nicest one is staying in one piece. The one that gives me rattles or squeaks is the one that's coming apart for this project. So this one is actually hers, because this is the nicest, the straightest. The saya is beautiful on it. It's nice and shiny, no scratches, no dings, dents, no surprises. The second one is the one that got tapped for it. And what I did is I took it apart, and the habaki on it was, you'll notice the habaki on this one's brass. Yeah. The habaki on the other one was a little bit goofy. It had a crooked line on it that really bothered me. And so I refinished it. And I'll show you all that in just a sec. Then what I did was I took the tang from the other 634 Handmade Sword. I took that blade and I filled, okay, I had the hilt, I put the hilt in the vise, I filled it up with water. And then I took the tang and wait. I ordered this. This is the Sea Dragon Fuchi and And it also came with a kashido. Of course, you don't use it for this. But these came from Arts Feng in China. They're beautiful things. If you decide to go this way, you're probably going to look at this and notice that the suba is in upside down. You should look at it when it's in the saya and see all the nice stuff on the outside, and it should be facing this way. Of course, the sword would be wrong anyway because the head's upside down. You can look at it like that. But I had to put it in that way because I don't know if you can see it or not, but the suba actually has a curve to it. It was cast that way, and I wanted that away from my knuckles instead of toward them because that's kind of a 90-degree angle there and it'd be harder on your knuckles. And also, this is in upside down, and that's because right side up it would not fit. No matter which way you turned it, it wouldn't line up around here. It just looked really screwed up. It's on upside down, like I said, but the opening in it for the tang is so big you can put it on any way you wanted to, and the tang will still slide in. So that's what that's about. The seppa are actually brass blacked, both of them on the back and on the front, and the habaki is done with brass black. This one isn't in a saya because I have more than one extra saya, and I haven't decided which one I'm going to put this in. I have a few special ones that aren't black, and I have one that actually is it's from Baby Doll Sword from Sucker Punch. That looks really good next to this. I haven't put any of them in there because when I decide which one it's going to be, I'm going to make it fit. And you know that when you put these in, the first thing that happens to the habaki is it gets scratched up. And I didn't want 2 or 3 sets of scratches on this. I just want one set from the side it's going to stay in. Okay, like I said, fill it up with water. Put the tang in with everything mounted on it like that, and the water splashed out. Pull it back out again, and I ended up to about here inside. This is where I made my first mistake. After I wrapped the tang with 2-inch masking tape inside out, you start with it and you wrap it inside out, and so the slippery side's on the inside where the tang is. Then I clamp the hilt in a vise, and I slid this thing down into it. And as you're getting down there, you get about that far, and you start wiping with Q-tips. Wipe that JB weld out and throw those things away as you're doing it. Oh yeah, JB Weld is the kit that I mixed up for it. I used 2.5 kits for it. So you take a big hypodermic like veterinarians use, and you tape a drinking straw to the end of it with the strongest tape you can find. Pull the plunger out, mix up a kit of JB Weld, take a popsicle stick, and just ladle it into the hollow part of the syringe. Give yourself about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the top, so you can put the plunger back in. When you put that plunger back in, if everything is right, you'll have the straw, and I use the straw and went all the way to the bottom here, and you just squeeze it in there. If you pour it in from the top, it's going to have all kinds of air bubbles in it. That's a problem I had with the shadow. That was one of the things. So yeah, I filled it up and kept mixing kits. On the second kit, I was up to about here, right where the other one was. As I was pushing it down in there, it started coming out, and you wipe it out, like I said, use some gun scrubber on a Q-tip and just start cleaning it out until you get to like maybe a 1/2 inch, and then just drop it down in there. Did that, made sure repeatedly that everything is straight. That's a big one too. If you look at the habaki, it looks straight. If you turn it even slightly, it looks like the sword is put together crooked. See that? And it's turned, and you can't even see the bottom of it yet because this part is bigger than the top, and by the time you get to the bottom, everything just looks crooked as you turn it. Go by the line in the top of this in the middle, and go by eyeball a line in the middle of the bottom, and just keep looking at it as you're putting it in to make sure it doesn't go in there crooked. Look at the seppa as it's touching against the back of the suba and make sure that everything looks straight. Now there's a divot in this casting. You're going to see that. But just look at the top, look at the bottom, everything is straight, and have the vise in such a way that you can keep looking around it. I put a mirror behind it. And as you turn the mirror this way, you've got a 360-degree view. That's another thing. That's a printmaking trick. If you look at something through a mirror, if there are any flaws in it at all, it looks perfect to you. Look at it in the mirror and you'll see something that's wrong. You can fix it then, and just keep adjusting it and stay with it. Use the slow dry, regular JB Weld. Don't use JB Quick. I'll tell you about that in a minute too. And just take your time. As you're putting that tang in, just go slow, go slow, go slow, go slow, go slow. And just keep cleaning it as you go. You need a big workbench. One the size of a house would be ideal because it clutters up just that quick. I have a standard, an advanced table workbench, and it's not big enough. So I end up scooting a lot of stuff up onto the floor. Avoid that if you can. Prepare for this. Prep is 90% of it. Once this JB weld starts setting up, you don't have time to flail. That's lesson number 2 I learned from the shadow. Okay. Now, this thing is going to set down in there, set flush. You can't see them in here, but I have 2 spacers between the SEPA and the Fuji, and that's because neither the Fuji nor the flat spot on the Suba are perfectly flat. Now I filed the Fuji till it was perfectly 90 on a sheet of glass, but I couldn't get the Suba that way. So I put that in there because there's a tiny little gap in a couple spots, and no matter how many straight you put it on, it's still not going to look right. That's just kind of a cushion. White piece of cardstock, cut to fit, glued on with polyvinyl acetate, J glue, bookmaking glue, and then colored black with a rub-a-dub laundry marker. That's put together. I saved myself a few steps here. The Tang is a lot smaller than the Suba. So what I did with it was, and don't use what I did, use JB Quick for it. For this, but not for the other thing I'll tell you about in a minute. I used DevCon, that clear epoxy, and it took days to set. And then I started looking on the internet and I found out that quality control is something that they have issues with. It didn't dry fast, it didn't dry hard. But I left it on there and coated it with super glue. And fitted it, and then coated it and fitted it. And I ended up with a hard, clear, like a plug in there, which of course doesn't come out. The Hibaki was the same deal. It was a little bit loose. When I got it, it had been the blade had been signed together so hard that it had actually bulged the edge down here because it's aluminum and brass is harder than aluminum. So I had to fix that. I had to move the Hibaki up, recut all of this, put this back together, and then tighten the Hibaki up with popsicle sticks. There's one on the top, there's one, a sliver one on the bottom, there's slivers on the sides. Drive them in there with another popsicle stick. That's another thing. If you don't take anything away from this entire lesson, remember you don't ever hit this aluminum sword. Not even a steel bladed one, but never hit anything with a hard hammer. I think that's what happened here. So I had to fix all this. The bottom edge of it was rounded from being, it was just screwy. That's the one why this one ended up as the project sword in the first place. It was the opposite of this one when it got here. Excuse me. It needed a lot of fitting. So you might be in for that. And I've done medieval swords. This looks like it would be simple. It's not. I mean, there are all kinds of things that have to be done with it. So, this thing set in here with the tape inside out. 24 hours later, I pulled the blade out. And it came out easily because, of course, the non-sticky side was against the Tang. And I was left with the tape around the inside all the way down. It even had the little, it was perfect. It was perfect. Then I drilled, well, you can't see it now. There's a flower there. On this side is just flat. I wanted to put a peg in at an angle the way that it originally was. I drilled a hole through the flower and then down through this part on the other side. And what I ended up doing was, since I'd shortened this to fix it, I ended up going right through the same hole that the big Makugi was in. So I drilled it, of course, and put a brass pin in it, and I hated it. And I thought, this is just going to vibrate loose. So I had to fill that, and I filled it with JB Weld water weld, and it looks great. I'm happy with the way it came out. But I filled it in. I just actually drove a plug into it, not all the way down to where the Tang was, because the sword's put together now. Okay. Drilled another hole down here, right up where it wouldn't be seen, and I put 2 brass pins in it. It's all put together tight. Now, there were a few issues as I was doing this. The first and the worst was that when I drilled those holes, I pulled the Tang back out, and as I put it back in, one of those holes, a rough edge on it, caught the tape and rolled it inside here. And I shoved it down there, locked it up tight, and then it wouldn't come apart. The tape had rolled up inside. So I had to take it apart again, and I don't mean like this either. I don't mean this. I mean clamping the blade in a padded vise, putting my foot against it, and pulling it apart. That's how tight it was together. I took a straight 90-degree X-Acto blade on the end of a coping saw blade, taped it together, and scraped the inside completely out till there was nothing left inside here except where the old tape had been, and you could see the outline of the way it had been wrapped. Then I had to wrap the Tang with tape. the opposite way to make up the difference. And it all fit back together. But that's another thing. You're probably going to do, if you did this right, or not right, but if you did it correctly, not the way I did it, it's going to be really super tight. Your best bet is to take some Purell hand sanitizer, and just before you put this blade into the hilt, just drown the tape on the tang and everything. Well, if you do it right, you won't have to do the tape. The tape will still be in here, and just drive it down in there. The hand sanitizer, the alcohol will bleed off, and the lubricant and stuff in it, the vitamin E, makes it all slide together really fast. It's just really slick, and then it dries and it's gone. I've done that with a couple of medieval swords. Put them together really nice because of that way. So this is what I ended up with. There are 2 pins in it and 1 pin on both sides here. There's a pin here. You're probably going to find that you're going to have better luck if you want to put these pins in here. Let's see if you can actually see them. There's a pin, and there's one in the back, right back here. And it goes all the way through. You can see it on the other side, right there. That's the best way I could think of to do it. I mean, I figured as tight as this thing was going to be put together, and it was going to be completely filled with JB Weld, you shouldn't need a whole lot of oomph to keep the blade in here. So I ended up with those 2 pins. That's them. You can see the flower. I had to resculpt it with epoxy, and that hole right there, stippling that, making it all match, made me wish I'd done it right the first time. So that's how that went. It all fits together nicely. This is just a little bit, the Fuji just a little bit bigger, but that's okay. I mean, it looks really good. I'm happy with the way this came out. Again, learning curve, just like with the other one. If I'm dumb enough to build another one of these, it's going to come out a lot better. What else? This came in at $288 right here, counting this, the hardware, and the blade. And of course, I have an extra ska now because of it, and an extra Suba and Fuji Kachida, all that stuff. The tang in this goes to about here. That's as far, and the hole actually goes all the way down. The tang's a little bit shorter. This is not like the Pro Cut ones. They would split the hilts in half, the Martos, and it would be a solid parallel aluminum bar all the way down to the end. This is more lightweight. These swords are designed for non-contact only. You know, if you hit them against something, you'll break them. And I'm sure, even though this one is a bit sturdier, you'll break it. These are not for cutting, for contact, anything like that. The shadow, I would try and cut with that, even though the edge is square. I'd be more comfortable with that than I would with this. I would never cut anything with this or hit anything with it. This is just for Yai. It's Niaito, and that's it. It's, for those of you who don't know, if you're going to, a lot of Yai practitioners will use aluminum blades. You can't take a steel bladed sword into Japan. I've heard stories of them sticking magnets to the blades, and if the magnet sticks, your sword is gone. So this is, for what it is, it's not traditional, like the Shadow, it's not traditional, but it's something different, and it's, as far as the blade materials go, it's authentic for Yai. I mean, this other one, it's the handmade swords one, well, this one, that's what it's for. It's number 634. That's the one with the little lacy Suba on it. So, under $300, you have one of these. Go on the internet and start looking at how much people want for the higher end ones. I mean, $700, $800, $900, $1,000, $1,100 for a sword you can't cut anything with. I'm a lot happier spending this much to build something like this. I'm trying to think of all the details, things that. If you're gonna, if you're gonna do these pins, if you do yours like this, the pins came from K&S Brass. It's a place back east somewhere. I bought a little thing of scraps about 25 years ago, and I'm still pulling pieces out of it and using them for stuff like this. If you're gonna do this, find a spot where you want the hole to be. Drill the hole in from both sides, eyeball it from both ends. This is not something you could even do in a drill press. There's not a flat or symmetrical surface on this thing. So just drill down to the middle with a small drill bit, something half the size you're going to do with this, and then connect the holes, and then go up a size to the size that the brass pin is. I don't remember what it is, but you can figure it out, and then just drive them in. Same with that one right there. I ended up with a hole that's a little bigger than I wanted, so there's polyvinyl acetate in that hole. So putting this together, I used super glue to put the SEPA on both sides of the suba, so I wouldn't have to worry about them. A lot of stuff rattled around, and the SEPA was bigger around. Opening the SEPA was bigger around than the tang also. That's a lot of the problem with tightening this up, is everything's different size. The steel tank's bigger. Popsicle sticks on that. That's all put together with Depcon, and not permanently. I filled the hole with Depcon and then took a drill and started shaping, made a hole in the inside of it and shaped it bigger and bigger and bigger until it actually fit the tang really tight. There's a layer of masking tape inside it, and like I said, if you do this right, you don't have to worry about that. Remember, if you wrap it inside out, put the whole thing together and you're done, when you pull it out, check those holes very carefully. Take a Dremel or a next size up drill bit and round the inside of those holes and make sure there's nothing snaggy at all on the tank. Nice, smooth, even holes. And you're probably going to want to put one there and one there, because these are, at least on mine, they're far enough away from the Mikugi holes that you won't go into those. Do a lot of measuring. Measure where the Mikugi holes are on the tang. Measure, make sure that they're nowhere near where they're going to be on this. This, of course, is after you order this and you get it in the mail and you sit there and stare at it for days because you can't believe you actually have it. Other technical details about it. Now, this is a one-piece casting. It's not like the Marto, which is two pieces. This one you can't really tell. It doesn't have a collar on it because I took it off, ground it off, and I was left that little black ring that goes around. That was actually where the flange and the collar fit between the two pieces. This doesn't have this. This is all put together as one piece. It doesn't handle like the 634 anymore, because by the time you put 2.5 kits of JB Weld in here, it's heavier. It feels different. It's not, there's not a lot of blade presence to it. If you practice the eye with aluminum a lot, though, you're going to be used to that. And it's very cool. I haven't taken it apart again since I put it back together, but if I ever, I'm kind of thinking that eventually I'm going to have, if I can ever meet Adrian Paul, I'm going to have him sign it right here. The one spot my hand doesn't rub. And some of these places are weird about bringing weapons in. If I end up saying you can't bring a sword, I'll just pop it apart, bring this. Other than that, I'm never going to take it apart again. What else? Be careful with it. It's aluminum. Those of you who aren't used to dealing with aluminum, it's a whole different ballgame. You can bend these things really easily. Strenuous CI, you sometimes get a little bend in the middle. Just remember that this is a no contact type of weapon. It's not something you'd even want to drop, seriously. And that's about it. It weighs not even 2 pounds. I don't know what balance point is on it. I haven't really checked it. If you have a Marto and you built something like this and then pick it up when you're done, you're just not going to believe the difference in the way it feels and the way it handles. It's a whole different story. The Marto's a Jeep. This thing's a Ferrari. What else? You can get those, the handmade swords. You can get them on the internet. Like I said, they have their own website. You might want to order. I ordered mine off Amazon. Try and order it off Amazon and eBay, because there's feedback set up there, and there's a little bit more incentive for the vendor to actually get you your sword in a timely manner. Same with the set of furniture for this. I ordered it from Artsfang in China, and it came on the proverbial slow boat. I found out later that I could have ordered from Artsfang off eBay instead of Artsfang's site, and the people that get stuff from them are a lot happier if they get it through eBay, because with feedback and that sort of thing, the merchant is a little bit more concerned about getting you your part before you die of old age waiting for it. Daryl will take not much time at all. He's a good guy. You can get on his website and fill out there's like a request thing. What would you like us to do for you? I just wrote him and I said, I saw your sword on Highlander message board. I saw what you did for that customer. I said, would you be willing to cast one for me? And he said, sure. So I know there's at least 2 of them out there floating around. I don't privy to his business dealings, so I don't know how many he's made since. But I do know that if he ends up starting to produce these things, and I really wish he would. I mean, after looking at the United Cutlery thing, and the Marto's nice to look at, but it's not really sturdy. The UC version, if they say, you know how they say don't say anything nice at all if you can't say anything nice? Well, as a sword, the UC version is a great paperweight. This thing I'm not so worried about breaking. And if you do, you can get another handmade sword's blade. As long as you have the tang, you can fit that other tang in there and just work it till you get it where you want it. Daryl will build one for you. He asked me how I wanted it attached, and I said I just want the hilt. So he won't guarantee anything as far as workmanship or safety or anything like that if you build it yourself. That's one thing. If there is, you know, every warranty is null and void. But he will build them for you, and he does some fantastic work. And like I said, can't say enough about the guy. If you still are in the market for a Sal Tequila, I don't know if they're building them or not. I think they might be by now, building them again. It'll come out looking just exactly like this. If you want to wait for a while, the rumor has it that he is going to do a run of first season Musashi's, just like he has the mold for the first season hilt. So he's going to do some of those. That like I said, that's a rumor. You can wait for that if you want. They're supposedly going to be antiqued, you know, like movie style. If they come out as nicely as this one does, they're going to be great. This thing, it was a little bit darker when I got it. Some of it's worn off now because I've been using it. But yeah, he's going to do that. And these two are made of basically the same thing. I don't know if they're going to use exactly the same formula for the Musashi as he does for this, because he made them 2 different times, and I don't know if Sal's formula is proprietary or what. But I do know that this thing is supposedly as indestructible as Sal's. And you can't really, for what I paid for this, I mean, I know there are people out there with Martos that they love them, except, and I know there are people that have cut them up and you know, redone them, put different blades in them. I've seen pictures of them. I know that there are people that are always tinkering with these. But for my money, the straightest shot would be just to have him cast you a hilt, and you order the furniture for it, and then order the sword. The sword came off Amazon. It was here 3 days after I ordered it. It was almost the proverbial, you know, I hung up the phone and the doorbell rang like on Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, it was almost that quick, and they were really good to deal with. If you get a lemon, you can send it right back. They ask you for feedback. They ask you for opinions of the equipment. My opinion was that I liked both of them, but they were, in terms of fit and finish, they were 2 totally different swords, which is why the loose one got the nod for this project. What else? The saya that comes with it, make sure you're going to use that one. If you decide to antique the habaki, it's going to rub. When Sal did his, this is a different saya on Sal's. The one that he had on it originally ended up on the shadow. I got this one off of a Practical Plus, which is what the blades on Sal's come out of anyway, and it's all straight. But using 2 different saya, they ended up rubbing 2 different places on the sword, and then where it's rubbed smooth, it starts to tarnish a different rate. And I'm just picking, but yeah, just you want to find a saya that you want to use and hang on to that one and use it before you start refinishing everything, so it'll rub all in the same place and it'll look like it's supposed to. It's just an aesthetic thing for me. I get picky about such things, and that's why I took so much time with this, and so many things drove me crazy. This was a much faster build. That one took the shadow took me 3 months, like I said in the other video. This one took me maybe a month, and a lot of that was tweaks, and a lot of that was fixing the mistakes I made, like I told you about rolling up the masking tape inside the tang slot. That was just a mess to fix. So, and if you do that, even if you run it out with a drill, there's going to be stuff packed up in the bottom that you may end up you not being able to get out, and you might have to shorten the tang. I had to shorten the tang by about a 32nd of an inch to get everything to fit back together. If you have any questions about how I did this, if you start doing this, you know, and you get stuck somewhere, you can go ahead and send me a question in the response section of YouTube, and I'll try and steer you straight. If you have any questions though at all, stop and get an answer before you proceed. Because like I said, I had a little bit of problem, not as much with the shadow, but I didn't make any of the mistakes I made with the shadow. I made a whole bunch of new mistakes making this one. And hopefully you won't do what I did. I mean, if I built another one now, I'd probably have a lot better time with it, and I'd be like, you know, I'm happy with this way this came out, but it's not as perfect as it could have been. So there's that. Thanks for listening to this one. I don't know what I'm going to build next, but I will keep you posted. And like I said, be advised if you want something like this, and you don't want to do it yourself, and no, I think maybe I shouldn't have either. Daryl will build you one. So contact him. Thank you, and have a good day.